to get married is a permanent decision. You don't get off saying, I do today and I don't tomorrow. That has too many negative implications for yourself, your spouse, and your children. And that's why on today's show, we'll be talking about the 5 things that you must know before you get married. Hello there, I'm Dr. Bibi Babs, and I'm the host of Wise Attraction, which is a resource hub for building strong relationships. Our goal here is to help you to marry well and to build a strong, successful, beautiful relationship. On today's show, like I said, we'll be talking about the 5 things that you need to know before you get married. And our guests for today are Mr. and Mrs. John and Nengi Fash. They've been married for 7 years. Hello, John and Nengi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hola.
Good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Thank you for having
you.
us.
We're excited to be on with you.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of things, I'm going to ask you guys very random question. What do you enjoy most about marriage? So, Nengi, yeah, I'll ask Nengi to go first and then John.
Oh boy. Should I be real? Okay, sex.
Well, I mean, the peace with which you can enjoy your sex life. Oh, thanks, Nengi.
I can't believe she said that. I wanted to be like,
What is
just
spiritual about
like spiritual about. I've been about like just talking about purpose. Being able to just, do life purpose with someone, and
it? Oh my gosh.
like I don't have any answer for that. I'm done. Like, hey.
Oh, man.
Okay, so I did the same for you. Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
And because I'll add because I waited. Okay. I waited till I got married.
Well, we both waited.
We both waited. So
Oh, that's so beautiful. It
Yeah.
is so beautiful. Thank you. And thanks for sharing that because, lots of people have various notions about waiting. Oh, are you going to enjoy it? Oh, is it this? Oh, you're not test driving and all of that. But this is a testimony.
Yeah, it is. I mean, people talk about, you need to test. Would you test the car before you buy it? Stuff like that. That doesn't apply to marriage. It doesn't apply to sex,
yeah.
especially if you want to do it the right way.
Mhm.
I mean, aside from even religion, you want to do it the right way. So we did. We waited. We did.
Well, that's really good to know. All right. So on to the 5 things that people should know before they get married. John, I want to start with you from a male perspective.
Okay.
What is that one thing that you feel like is so important for guys to know before they go ahead and get married?
All right. So I put up a list, but I'm not gonna start from the first one. I'm just gonna start from the second one. Know your partner's past, their strengths and their struggles.
Yeah.
Because surprises are major issues that break marriages. You don't want to be surprised. That's one of the major things. Know your partner's strengths, the struggles. Listen, that was one of the things that I'm so glad now that we discussed about before we got married.
Yeah.
She knew my struggles. I knew our struggles. We talked about them so that when we got into the marriage, she wasn't surprised by if anything came up.
Yeah.
She wasn't surprised by it. Oh, can she be disappointed? Can I be disappointed if something happens? Yes. But we already knew the strengths, the weaknesses, the past, and everything. So we were able to walk through it. We're able now, I mean, it's present continuous. We're able to walk through everything because we already knew all that. Yeah, so you don't want surprises. Surprises are one of the things that break up marriages these days. Because someone will be like, well, I never knew you were like that. Oh, man, I never knew you were like that too. I never knew you did this, and stuff like that. And, those are some of the reasons. Most of the beautiful marriages, in quote, are broken because of surprises.
Yeah.
So
I definitely agree with you, John, because funny enough, recently I did a little poll and I asked, because it keeps coming that lots of newlyweds are actually breaking up, which is so weird. In my church, when my husband and I got married, part of the premarital process was that they told us that they're going to assign us to a mentor couple, because a lot of people that they are joined ended up breaking up within a year.
Yeah.
So we had to do all of that to help us stay together. And one of the reasons people cited is what you've just said, that when surprises come up, they're like, oh my goodness, this is too much, I can't handle it. So
I can handle surprises. Yeah.
mm,
It's one of the major challenges. Yeah. So
yeah. Nengi, what about you? So what do you think?
So picking off what he said, you have to know the worst side of the person.
yep.
I hear people say, hey, I never knew his anger was this bad. You need to know and see and know that, okay, can I handle this?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, you can never, you always see something in your relationship before you get married. All right. I've heard people say, hey, this person was like this, he was doing this. He wasn't doing this when we were courting. All right. No, you saw it. You saw it, but
You
you
never paid
chose
attention.
to
You oh, yeah, true.
So make sure that you know the word of the person. How does this person react to how does person react to you pissing him off or pissing her off? What is the degree of the person's anger? Can I handle it? Can you handle it? So make sure that you have seen the person angry. That's what I would say. That would be the make sure you have seen the person angry and how the person reacts. You need to know that. So that's what he said.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So John, do you want to give us another one? Yeah.
Another one. So I don't want to talk off my head. All right. So second thing I want to talk about, discuss finances. I know that, see, people are expecting me to be very but Goody already started. She already started with the game changer at the beginning. So, since you already started with the game changer, I need to start rolling it out. I don't, like Nigerians would say, I know if you carry last. So I need to roll it out like that. Finances, very important. Who is doing what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you manage finance? I know people talk about that, and some people are like, well, how does that work? Well, we needed to come together. We discussed it at the beginning, and then we started working it out, as married couples from the beginning. How do we do this? How do we do that? You've seen marriages where people, both of them have a lot of money, they're working and have a lot of money, but they don't get things done. Yeah. Because they never discuss finances.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like what they say in the contemporary world, that our money and my money is our money, but our money is our money, right? Well, discussing finances really goes a long way, so that when there's a deficit somewhere, because you all already discussed it, you already have it outlined, you already know what you're doing, and not the second person is able to carry it. Let me give an example. So we're both in the oil and gas industry. Aside from the fact that we do ministry and all that kind of thing, we're both in the oil and gas industry, right? And we know how unstable the oil and gas industry is right now, or in the past couple of years, right? There was a time that I got laid off, or she got laid off first, and some years ago. But because we already knew how our finances were working, we already structured it, we were able to sustain ourselves. She had savings. I had my salary coming in and stuff like that. We're able to really work things out. People were wondering how we survived. Well, the table flipped and our own job got stable. She got into a better role in a different company, which is not easy for them to fire or to lay her off or to fire her. I kept on in my career where I was and everything. And again, I got laid off. But because we already discussed finance, we already have our savings going, we already have everything outlined. People are like, how are you guys surviving? Listen, we are by God's grace, we are surviving in excess. Like, God is faithful and we have excess. We are paying our what are they calling it? We're paying our bills, we're paying our mortgage, we have 2 vehicles. everything is going on. God is faithful because we're discussing
Yeah.
finances and we've outlined it and we're getting better at it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's it. Someone has a comment there.
Yeah, so we have a comment from Mrs. Lafunki. She's saying, also know your tolerance level when it comes to managing each other's emotions. Some people can handle marrying someone with anger issues while some people cannot. I think this is in response to what Nengi said, about the whole anger thing. John, definitely thanks for sharing that. Finance is such a big thing. And funny enough, there's this research that's saying that people break up. One of the reasons for divorce is financial issues as well. So Nengi, over to you. What else do you have in store for us? What do single women absolutely need to know before they get married?
You need to know yourself.
Come on.
Okay, you need to learn how to enjoy yourself by yourself.
Come on.
Okay, because at the end of the day, you're not looking for a marriage to complete you.
Come on now. Come on. That's good.
All right. So those are the two things. Know yourself. Who are you? You know, what is your purpose before you join somebody else?
Come on now.
Have fun. Enjoy yourself. If you cannot enjoy yourself by yourself, then you're not ready for marriage. Because there are some times you're going to be by yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So that's something that I just have for the single ladies.
Yeah. Yeah. So can I add to that?
Yeah, sure.
Just very briefly. One of the major reasons why marriage end up getting messed up, especially from the ladies' part, is because those ladies never knew themselves. They never knew themselves. They never knew who they were. They never had the purpose. They thought that if I get married to a man that has a purpose, then I can join with his purpose and then we will form a purpose. No, you have to have a purpose and go with your purpose to the man. And then your purpose comes together. So when we're doing premarital counseling, right? I'm not going to mention the church or whatever. We're doing it, and one of the women asked, "So why are you guys getting married?" Well, we said because we trust that God has given both of us purposes and we have found purpose and want to come together to fulfill the agenda. And she was like, "No, that's not the reason. It is so that the Bible says God said a man should not be alone, so he made room for companion." Well, that's you. I've told you my own. You're asking me a question. I told you. Because I think you can find companionship.
Oh yeah,
you can find companionship with everyone. But it moves beyond that. Within the companionship is purpose.
What else?
What else?
What else? You know,
exactly.
Okay, so we're married now. So what next?
What next?
We've had babies. So what next?
Exactly. You know, when love fades, what happens next?
Wow, you guys have said so much. You know, the interesting thing is that this reason that you guys have given, I don't know how many people give those reasons. It's usually, oh, I love this person, this about him or her, I love that and all of that. But it seems to me from what you guys are saying that you guys had that level of maturity to go beyond feelings, to go beyond what you merely see, to begin to look into, okay, what are we on earth for? And what are we going to be doing together? It's so beautiful. I'm going to read some comments and I'm going to get back to you guys to tell us some more of all of that. Mrs. Lafunki is saying, preach it, sis. Know yourself. Marriage should not complete us but complement us. I'm just gonna make a quick comment about that. You know, I feel like the way a lot of us Africans, those that grew up in Nigeria, were raised in terms of a lot of ladies, they're raised to, okay, get ready for your matrimonial home and all of that. If you ask a lot of young people, at least, let's say millennials, I don't know what's happening with these other younger guys right now. But for a lot of millennials is, oh, I want to get married. That's a life dream. That's the goal. Even when you're at uni, you're almost finishing, they're already tensioning you at home. They're like, where's the guy? Where's the guy? You know, that type of thing. And because of that, a lot of people don't see that there's something beyond that. True. So the focus is on marriage, and so they get married, and there's that shock of, oh, what is it to me? Especially when you start having kids, because you sort of lose yourself because you're now like literally living to support another person. So yeah, it gets a bit difficult. Nengi, did you want to say anything to that?
Yes, let me add to that. I tell people, you know, don't rush. You know, I'm going to talk about, you know, the period of waiting a little bit just now. You know,
okay, cool.
If you have them on your side and you don't want to rush into having children, that is perfect, because you need that time to know yourself. yes, you've dated, but dating and court is totally different from being together. So if you can spend time and know yourselves also as a man and a woman, because when the children come, oh my gosh, everything you're doing, from the 9 months of, of pregnancy, and you with the baby, and next thing you know, you're having another baby, and it's just
life
so,
as we know
so
it is
if you
over.
can spend some extra time that 1 year. I know our parents are like, where's my grandchild? When end of the day, they'll leave you.
They will be there
You see them.
when it's time to
They'll just
drop
give
off the
give it
the
back to
grandchildren
you.
to them. They would.
One having sleepless nights. So spend time at the beginning. This is something that we had to learn, because at the beginning we're like, oh my God, we're praying for the baby and crying and all of that. It took 4 years, but now we're seeing that, hey God, we had enough time to get to know ourselves better, to enjoy ourselves. And since I talked about sex at the beginning, you're having sex everywhere.
Yeah.
That is marriage. Sorry guys. I'm sorry guys. This is just me. I'm trying to be real, but I'm saying that enjoy the beginning part of your marriage, because when the kids come, it's boom, boom, boom. You're going from one doctor's appointment to daycare,
Right.
to you're going to, and especially if you're working. So spend that 1 year or 2 years getting to enjoy yourselves, to know yourself, and all of that. So I just wanted to add that too.
Yeah, thanks, Nengi. So I'm going to read a bit more comments, and then we'll come back to you, Fash, to give us some of those reasons. Mrs. Lafunki is also saying, you people are loaded. Haha. Can you imagine what the counselor said? Yeah, that's really, it's so interesting, because you go to someone for counseling and you say something that sounds wiser than what your counselor is saying, which is really weird.
Yeah.
And the final comment is, oh dear, she clearly needed to be to be counseled about the purpose of marriage.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, so John, do you want to give us some more reasons?
Okay, so let me talk about this one. You need to discuss how you're going to handle the extended family. So that's what we don't talk about. And then marriage comes, you start. So one of the things that we made up our minds for is that no family member is going to live with us for a long period of time. None. Well, I mean, that kind of changed because there was, situations are different.
Yeah.
But generally we do not. For reasons that are known to us. For reasons that stuff that we've heard about, that we've talked about and everything. So you need to discuss that. You need to discuss that. Well, I mean, my dad came to the US and he stayed with us for a few weeks, for months, maybe 2 months and stuff. That's a different case because he traveled down and stuff like that. We understood the situation at the time, but not when we are together in the same states or the same country, and then you have issues with accommodation and then you want to come and stay. And no, we would rather help out, with other things than that, because those issues that can mess the marriage up.
Yeah.
That can mess because if issues start coming with extended family on your side, on my side, it requires, Ms. Lafungi said, it requires godly wisdom. Exactly. You need to review.
Yeah.
It's not a one-off thing. You need to constantly review.
Yeah.
Like I said, we had other cases where we needed to accommodate some very precious family members because of, they were moving from another state, and so before they settled in and everything. But even at that, there were still some challenges that came up in that period. But because my mind was already like, that's fine, handle it, just try to be focused and handle it the best way possible. But so that's important.
Yeah. Nengi, I think you want to add to, you wanted to say something about that.
No, just like Mrs. Lafunki said, this is something that you have to review, and handle with godly wisdom. Like he said, I know he said some precious family, but my parents were moving from California to Texas to be close to the grandkids, and definitely we had to house them while they were building their own house. So those are things that pop up.
Yeah.
But definitely we knew that it wasn't like for a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly.
But like you said, these are things that you talk about at the beginning of the marriage going back to beginning of your courtship, going back to what you said about finances, we said, okay, are we going to be managing our money together? Are we going to have a separate account? Are we going to have a corporate saving joint account? So those are things that we talked about before we got married. And also talking about what Mrs. Lafunke said at the beginning, talking about knowing your tolerance level. So make sure that you see habits of the person and ask yourself, can I handle this? While we were dating, there were some things, I was like, can I handle it? Is this something I can handle?
And you said, yes, I can handle it.
Yes, I can handle it. So whenever I saw it pop up in the marriage, I'll be like, it's one of those things I said I was going to.
Same here. Don't think you're.
Gosh, so you need to know if there are some things that you cannot handle or you can handle.
Yeah.
If you feel that you cannot handle it going down, don't say, let's see how it is. Don't say, let's see how it is.
We'll work it out in the marriage.
Don't say we'll work it out in the marriage. If you believe you cannot handle it, step out. Step out. Because you don't want to get into marriage and on the road, you're like, man, everybody's getting divorced. Okay, let me get divorced too. When you're entering into your marriage, you're entering the marriage for the long haul. Not just because God hates divorce, but because you want to honor the covenant. You get so.
Wow, thanks guys. You guys have dropped a lot of things, and what I really appreciate about both of you sharing is just your honesty and your candidness for people to be able to see the reality of what's going on. And I want to ask you guys something from what you said before we carry on. You talked about joint accounts, separate accounts, and all of that. And this is a big conversation about like, should we share our finances? So I want to find out from you, what should inform that decision? Not necessarily the decision that both of you have made, but what should people consider when they're deciding, are we going to have a joint account or are we going to separate our finances?
Okay, you want to go first?
Yeah, let me go first. I'll say, you need to consider, the rainy days.
Yeah.
So for example, we have a joint account, and the reason for that joint account is for savings.
Yeah.
So from that joint account, we actually have a savings and a current joint. But I have my account separate too, and she has her account separate.
Yeah.
So she gets her job bonuses and work bonus and all that. That doesn't come to the joint account. She splurges on it, enjoys herself. Wants to give me small things, she will find me small things. But if my own bonus comes, I have to share with her, right? I mean, that's normal, right? Stuff like that. So my salary comes, it's mine, but we have a portion of it that goes into the savings account because, for the rainy days, it's just like the season where, my job, I was laid off and, for some months and stuff like that. But we already had a lot of money, and the percentage. The percentage also is not always equal. Yeah. Like I pay like 5% into that account, and she drops like 45 or 30. But that's what it is. But then during that period, I did not want her to take our money to pay the mortgage. Mm-hmm. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Let her have her money. She was paying other things. She was paying car notes and insurances, and when I had some extra money, I sent it back to her. But mortgage, some of those major things was coming from that. I didn't want that to stress her at all. It was coming from that saving. So, just stuff like that. Future for kids and for daycare, for groceries and just stuff like that. So yeah.
Wow, thanks a lot. So I don't want to miss something you guys said about in-laws, because John, you did mention, and Mrs. Lafunke, she has a comment here which I'll read and then I'll make a comment as well. I agree with you. I know of a courtship that ended based on the guy's views about how his family's views must take precedence over the wife he married. The lady ended the courtship. I mean, kudos to that wise woman, because lots of people, they just feel like, oh, I want to get married. I want to get married. I want to get married. I don't want to be single anymore. And then they go ahead and get married to someone who that you're not going to be happy in that situation. I mean, Nengi, what do you think about a situation where a guy says, what are the implications? So some people might not understand why this woman had to end the courtship simply because somebody said my family views are more important. So what are the dangers of one party, whoever the party is, saying that my family's views are more important than what we decide or what you say in our marriage.
The danger is you're going to have a rocky marriage, because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Someone is going to feel neglected or just emotionally abused. Like I can't say anything because everything's going to be back to your family. So those are things you need to figure out at the beginning, because if you don't figure out at the beginning and you see it happen in the marriage, you're not going to have a happy marriage. So one person is just going to be frustrated in the marriage.
Yeah.
And maybe the person is like, okay, I can't end this marriage. I just have to suck it up and take it.
That
is going to be, the danger is you're going to have a very unhappy marriage. A very unhappy marriage. And you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
There's no need to get into a marriage you're not going to enjoy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thanks, Nengi. John, I just wanted to ask you, still on this issue of in-laws.
Yeah.
So how can someone, because in this example that Mrs. Lafunki shared, the guy actually said it. But some guys, they don't come out and tell you that, oh, my family's view is more important. So how can a lady, or let's say even the guy, because it could be any party that in a relationship, how can they find out how they view? So will my opinion be more important than your family's opinion, or will you value your family's opinion more than my opinion in this marriage?
Very easy.
How can you find out? Okay.
It's very easy, because oftentimes those guys are like, my mother said, my daddy said.
Yes.
Yes. It's like that. It's very easy.
Yes.
I'm going to give an example.
Okay.
And I regret it till date. But it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like it was a big deal, but I just still regretted it. It didn't have to do with me and her. It was my brother and his wife, actually. So there was a time, and it was funny, before my mom went to be with the Lord, there was a time that my sister-in-law had an issue with my sisters. Just how women, ladies, and stuff. And so, but my brother was like, my brother was strong on the matter. My brother's a little bit, I'm a passionate person. Whenever he wants to get passionate, he gets too passionate, right? Sisters and stuff like that. Well, anyways, that, how it is with mothers and their daughters, right? So my mom was taking the side of the girls, somehow, but my mom really loved my sister-in-law. I mean, like, loved my wife too a lot, before she was an amazing mother-in-law. She loved them. She didn't give them trouble, but just some sentiments here and there. Women sentiment generally. Wife having So we had a vacation one time in our home country. I mean, my parents' house in Ibadan, back in Nigeria. So we all came, but then was I married then? No, I wasn't married then. We're still called, but she was in the States. I was in Nigeria. But I came, and then I went back to Nigeria. Oh, we were married. And then, but I went to Nigeria. We were married. We just got married. Then I went to Nigeria. Exactly. So when Oyo State, Ibadan and everything, so we had a meeting. We had a family kind of prayer meeting, and then that issue came up and we discussed and everything. But then at that meeting, I kind of took a standoffish position at that meeting. Until today, I regretted it, because my standoffish position kind of supported my parents, kind of supported my mother, kind of. But I was pissed at myself years later, because I was like, nope, I should have, even though they were right, because my mom was actually right. But even though she was right, I shouldn't have taken her aside. I should have.
But why do you feel so? Why do you feel like even though she was right? Because I didn't want my sister-in-law to be viewed in a type of. I didn't want her to be subject. I didn't think I liked the way she felt about the whole situation. Okay.
So I felt I should have taken her side, and we are very close. I mean, I'm my sister-in-law. Like even sometimes he's like, "Come on, you are your girlfriend," and everything. Like, I mean, we're so close. So I was like, you know what? I should have taken her side. I shouldn't have been standoffish. I should have been like, no, y'all are wrong. That's not, just forget about it and everything. So you don't want to do that, because what I thought about was that, what if it was my wife that was in that position? Because my brother was in that position. My older brother was in that position at the time. That was his wife. I should have taken his aside. I shouldn't have been standoffish, or I should have just said, like, this meeting, no need, just forget it. Because everybody stuff like that. But anyway, I didn't like the way she felt, even though she wasn't right at the time about the situation. But it was just that. So I wouldn't want anybody to pass. So you would know from the beginning. When the man starts saying, my brother said, my father said, my mother said, and this and that, just forget it. If it's not going to change, just leave it.
Wow, thank you. Thanks for sharing that, John. I mean, this in-law thing is so sensitive. Like, it's such a sensitive issue. That's why it's so important to start dealing with it. Know where you both stand before you finally say, I do. Also, understand the family, because you want to know, can I handle this family? Everybody has their quirks.
Yeah.
You're not just marrying one person, like you're getting right in there.
Yeah.
So you need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Wow. So Nengi, do you want to share with us some more points?
Okay, he took my point of handling finances, so but that's and another thing is how are we going to raise our children when it comes to, because some women are soft on it, or some men are soft on it. Are we going to spank them, or are we going to scold them, or are we going to go at it as a united front? So if I say no, are you going to join and say no with me, or are you going to give the child what she wants? So how are we going to address discipline? So these are things you need to know. Now, when you get married and you scold your child and think, why would you talk to my child that way? So you need to know that. So that is another point.
Yeah, thanks, Nengi. That's actually really important, because sometimes you don't even, these are things that people don't think about. You guys are really coming up with like really deep stuff, the things that will make a difference when you get married, because these are things that if someone doesn't tell you, because you haven't been in that context, you wouldn't know about, oh, I might want to raise my child different. You might just think, oh, we're going to do it together. Personally, those are not things I thought about until I went to counseling and I started listening to stuff. That's when but just on my own, it's not something that I would have imagined by myself. So, John, what else do we need to know?
Okay, let me see. One last thing. Okay.
I think
well, of course, we already talked about defining purpose. Well, we didn't really say it as a point. We just around the area, but define purpose. So, for example, now, right? Everybody hears about purpose and everything. You want to define purpose so that you can align together at a place, right? So, for example, we both work secular jobs, we both do ministry together, and then we both run a non-profit organization together. So it's not about, oh, this is my own. Of course, we still have fights on those things. We still have fights. Oh, you took that decision about that, and then I wasn't allowed to give an input. But why that also actually makes sense is because we already knew that we're doing this together. If it was my thing, she wouldn't even bother. She would be like, you just do your stuff, So even as a worship pastor, and she is the wife of worship pastor, and she runs the prayer ministry in the same church, she still has a lot of input in the worship ministry because she's my wife. Decisions that I take, and because there are women on the team too. There are a lot of women. In fact, more women than men on the stuff like that. So you have to define purpose so that you can be aligned. You could, realign your purpose, my purpose. I can meet together and go as a major front.
Well, that's such a powerful thing to think about before you get married. Guys, if you're single and you're watching this, you are being blessed, literally. Because even me just hearing this, even though I'm married, I'm being blessed, because purpose is so key. And sometimes, you can possibly cut out 50% of your arguments just by having the same purpose. A lot of people argue simply because they are not aligned.
Exactly.
And if your purposes is polar opposites of the other person, then what are you doing together?
What are you doing?
More than marriage is more than the wedding day. It's more than having children. It's so much.
It's even more than love.
It's more than love. It's so much more. Like, why did God put us together? What is that? What does God want to do through us as a husband and wife?
Exactly.
This is especially for Christian marriages. What does God want us to do? You know, it's more than the normal of, okay, I come back from work, you go to work, we have sex, we're with ourselves.
Night.
You know, God, more than that,
more than
especially
that.
as a Christian husband and wife, Christian marriage.
Yeah.
It's more than that. What is our purpose? Do they align?
Yeah.
You know, and it's we're grateful for that we align, our purpose aligns. You know, like I was before I got married to him, I was thinking about men having a concert where we bring the big names in Nigeria together, and they have and I met him and he had that same vision. And now God is doing something through us, you know, through the church here in West Texas. You know, we're doing a conference with the big names in Christian music, and it's like, oh my God, this is what we dreamt about as
Wow.
crazy.
It's happening.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too. Yeah, go ahead.
You know, then having the worship ministry. You know, I love to worship. He loves to worship, and it's amazing. And that's why, hey, make sure that you don't just get married to anybody. Make sure that you've prayed to God and say, hey, God, is this the person for me? You know, and I say that pray to make sure that God gives you who He has for you.
Yeah.
You know, I know that His missing rib, because we don't just complete each other, but we complement each other.
Yeah.
You know, we complement each other. So, you know, so it's so much more.
Yeah.
It's so much more. And talking about the vision, talking about career, it's like, are you going to work? Because you don't want to get into the marriage and you're like, I don't want you to work anymore. I ain't stay in the house and take care of my children. So those are things you need to find out before you get married. You know, this is my career. This is what I want to do. These are my long-term goals. I want to be a manager. I want to be a CEO. You want to be a CEO. Like he says something like, okay, he wants to work for, let's say, 10 or 15 years before he retires. So I'm like, so those are things you should know before you get married. Because what if I'm like, I want you to work forever to make sure that we are to make sure that we are okay.
Yeah.
Find out, you talk about before you get married, how long do you want to work? What are your long-term goals?
Yeah.
How you know, do you want to just become an entrepreneur from the beginning?
Yeah. Yeah. And if things change along the way, you are able to come together and reconvene and discuss it and then forge ahead.
You need to know if the person, are you going to support my goals, my dreams? Are you going to push me at my secular job? Or are you going to tell me to step down? Or if you see me, or if I'm earning more than you, are you going to envy me? Or are you going to say, hey, I need you to just leave the job? You know, are you going to push yourselves?
It beats me that it happens though, that people do that. That because your wife is earning more, because your wife is progressing in her career more than you.
You begin to.
I don't get it. Really, I'm telling you, it beats my mind. I mean, it's just like, let me just say, look, it's just something small from thinking about, like, for example, the conference, you know. I'm like, well, God laid it in our heart way before we ever became a couple. I mean, you know, I do music and stuff like that. And she also does music, and she, you know, was doing music and all that kind of thing. And then now, 7 years later, God has placed us in a place where we're able to work with people that are able to support the vision we both have together. And we're organizing a major conference in a region that has never happened before. I could have just talked about it here. It's called the West Texas Worship Conference, and we're having like the big names. We're having David and Nicole being in. We're having Chandler Moore from the Maverick coming to speak. We're having speakers all over the U.S. coming together to do it. And it's by the hand of this African people, you know, and I mean, people don't know and stuff like that. But the days I'm going crazy, like, this is not working. This is the project manager for the conference. And that's my wife. She's able to handle everything. And she's like, man, hey, chill, calm down. Okay, I'll fix this. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll be able to do this. I'll be able to do this. I'll work with the team and do this and do that. You know, rather than me going to meet someone from outside, you know, to work with me. Yeah, I don't want to belabor the discussion, but basically that's just, you know, something on that angle.
I'm sorry, I really don't know what happened there.
Okay.
That's so weird. Yeah, wow, thank you guys. Honestly, I'm just gonna tell you guys that you just even the vibes I'm getting, and I'm sure all the viewers are getting these vibes from both of you, that you have such a beautiful union. Just imagine, like, before you met, God laying it on each of you's hearts individually. You came together. I mean, there's nothing as beautiful as dreaming of something, and then living to see your dream actually manifest. It is so beautiful. So your story really, like, I'm like, wow, God bless this couple. I'm really blessed by hearing from you guys, and I'm sure every listener will hear, because you guys have dropped some very serious wise nuggets. I'm going to read some comments from the comment section, and then we're going to go on to your story about how you waited. Okay, so Ms. Lafunki is saying, I agree with you. Even explore the names you will be giving the children, as it causes a big issue in marriage as well. That's so true. As little as names. Some people in their family, it is the paternal grandfather that chooses the name. Yeah.
That's something.
So you're saying something?
I said that was something that we had agreed that we were going to be the ones to name our children.
Wow.
To come later on in the middle. We'll be the ones to name our children. Their first names will come from us.
Okay.
And we also said that we're going to name them native names. Okay. My name is Goodness. Okay. He's John, first name. People think that I'm just calling myself Goodness because I'm in America. My first name is actually Goodness before my middle name. They were like, hey, I've always loved the Yoruba culture, and I'm married to a Yoruba man. So I was like, my kids are going to answer a Yoruba name. In America, people are going to know that they're Nigerian, so.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Guys, if you're single and you're watching this, honestly, you're so blessed. Just imagine what the conversations to have before you get into the war zone. Because literally, guys, sometimes
you know how crazy it gets sometimes.
And if I may add, talking about the war zone, people need to know that whenever you're fighting, whenever there's something in the marriage, you're not fighting yourselves. You're not fighting. It's the enemy that is trying to fight your union. So, if you think about it, you know that you're not fighting the man, you're not fighting the woman. Actually, you're fighting for your marriage. You're not fighting the person. You're not fighting yourselves. You're fighting for your purpose. So.
Good.
Wow, thanks, Nengi. So, Mrs. Lafunki is also saying Christian names or native names or Hebrew names, etc. Talk about it. So she's saying talk about the names. And please, what are your handles on Instagram?
Yeah, we'll put.
Mine is Fashtagram.
Yeah,
we could post it on.
I'm gonna put it there. It's OBY.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or DO. I don't even know my handle is.
Okay, Instagram.
In the handle and
all right. So while you get your handle,
it's OBY underscore DOT2N.
Okay, so OBY underscore, yeah.
DOT number 2N.
Okay. All right. So I'll share it in the comments.
We check Nengi Fash. It's
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then mine is Fash.
I have yours here.
You have mine exactly. Fash.
That's correct.
Fashtagram 01 actually.
01. Okay, let me.
Fash. It's Fashtagram. Fashtagram 01.
This is correct.
There's an S missing.
No, there's
an S missing. Okay.
Yes. Fashtagram. Strange name.
Guys, forgive me. I'm not listening properly. Okay. I think I've got.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Okay. All right. So that is his Instagram. And she's also saying, please, my husband is asking where you guys are based.
In Texas.
Yeah, they're based in Texas.
US. We're in the west side of Texas.
Wow, it's been such a nice conversation, you guys. You've blessed me, honestly. It's so beautiful.
Thank you for bringing it on. We didn't talk about fights, though. I'm just kidding. But that happens. So okay, yeah. It's not fighting. Yeah, you talked about it, though, actually.
Yeah, your relationship is so beautiful. So before we go today, I know that both of you had a period of waiting before you had your first child. And this is one of the things that people need to know. I know it's not a prophecy. If you're single listening to this, I'm not prophesying to you, but you might have to wait before you have your first child. That's a reality, that's something that you need to think about. Even, of course, like Nengi has said, you need to decide when you have your kids and you don't have to rush into it. And sometimes the wait is a blessing, you know. So I want to know from you guys, what was the most difficult thing during that waiting season?
The most difficult thing, two difficult things. The first one was seeing a negative result on the test. The second one was seeing my period. Yes, it was. It was every month seeing it. No, that just confirmed that I wasn't pregnant. Yes, so that was it.
Yeah.
Wow. So John, what about you? I mean, like, I feel like when you're a woman, me being a woman, whether pregnant or not pregnant, is my body.
Yeah.
Do you understand? A lot of things are with me. I can express it, like Nengi could experience it with her body and she knows. But what about you? How did you feel in terms of being the man? It's not necessarily happening to your body, but you're in that space.
Yes, man. I think for me, if I can be sincere, the most difficult thing for me was seeing her not happy, was the emotional roller coaster, because I would always, I'll be like, man, I understand. Just when when the talks come, when like, okay, now again, and everything. So for 2-3 years, okay, so you remember, I was back in Nigeria for a bit. I would just come in, shuttle back and forth because I was still working over there. So whenever I came here, and I would, so initially it was like, okay, well, maybe because I'm still back and forth. But then when I came and we still had to wait for another 2 years, after that, it was like, man, so every time the result comes, boom, and it's like, okay, again, just having to deal with that. I wake up middle of the night, she's not beside me, she's in the closet praying or crying, that kind of thing. And it was like, oh, again, just having to deal with that. And then, okay, we had to go do all the tests. So we got to a stage, we started doubting ourselves, like, okay, we have to go do it, and you hear those things, you hear people talk about those things. And this was not us purposefully waiting like other people would.
Yeah.
It was just that it was not happening.
Yeah.
So we had to go do tests. I would go, things I hear people do, go the man, do tests, like crazy stuff, right? Go check whether you're potent and stuff like that. Like, I never believed it that this will happen to me, stuff like that, and then you go and result comes out and you're good.
Okay, you're good.
And you're fine. And then, again, okay, let's try again. And it's the same thing. Just having to deal with that emotional roller coaster, especially with her, and everything, because she's a woman. She, but another thing that would have been a challenge, but thank God was never a challenge, is in-laws and stuff like that. But my family's not like that. So dad and mom will pray and call her, encourage her, text her. Don't worry.
True.
I remember the day we got the positive result. I remember mom, we called them, and so when we're calling families, and my mom was screaming unending. She was praying in Yoruba, like I hardly see her do that. I mean, like, we grew up speaking English in the house. She was just thanking God, worshiping in Yoruba. She was rolling on the floor of back in Nigeria and everything, So we had supportive families, but just that emotional part of it, seeing her and everything, not,
or people,
fasting,
or people
asking, when is baby coming?
Already.
That was another crazy
you need to get on it.
I'm like, are you serious?
Somebody asking me, hey, do you know the positions you need to be in? That
was the stupidest thing ever.
Time. I was like, seriously?
Well, and those questions didn't come to me. You see, that's another thing. They were coming to her.
Do you know the position? How are you? Do you know how to count your ovulation time? Do you know, like, those are questions that you should not ask. Just don't ask.
Those are don'ts.
Don't.
Do not ask somebody waiting for
It's
that.
hurtful.
Do not.
It's hurtful.
Except you have a prophetic word for the person.
Yeah, it's hurtful.
It's a different ball.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I think that sometimes the way people, when someone is having an issue, sometimes when someone feels like they want to help, they end up worsening the situation. We really need to watch what we say when people are going through a difficult time. No matter what it is, we need to think twice before we let those words out. Think how would the person feel? How would it affect who we are dealing with? So I'm going to read some comments, and Nengi, I want to come back to you because I feel like you have a lot more to tell us about that season of waiting. You know, what you did, what kept you going, you know, and how you got to the end of that time. Yeah. So Samuel Babalola is saying, that's my husband. He's saying this is really good. Beautiful couple. And Mrs. Lafunki is saying, we love your vibes. Absolutely, we really do love your vibes. Samuel is also asking, did your time of waiting increase your prayer lifestyle? So Nengi, I'll allow you answer that as you share a bit more.
Let me say before she starts, that is one of the most interesting seasons of our marriage.
Yes.
One of the most
interesting.
Say, talk about it.
So today we look back and we say, man, this is the reason why. You know, God was building something in us. He was birthing something in us. He was birthing my prayer life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had like the way I pray now comes from my season of waiting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I tell people, in your season of waiting, what are you doing while you wait?
Even our ministry was birthed from that. Our worship was birthed from that.
So much was birthed. So much. Some of the things that I've kind of taken the back burner now, you know, so many ministries that God has given to us were birthed in that time. You know, so definitely increase my prayer life. I was able to go for prayer conferences that I'll go and I'll lose my voice because we are praying. I was able to go for 72 hours of prayer and is it lockdown or
shut in prayer?
Shut in prayer. You know, we prayed for 72 hours straight for a ministry I used to be part of in that time. You know, I'll go for prayer ministry. I'll pray. Go for conferences.
I mean, the 14-day fasting with your 21.
We even did 21 days. We'll pray in the middle of the night. Sorry, at 12 midnight.
So, yeah.
So definitely, this season of waiting increased our prayer life, and also in season of waiting, God led me to into the Bible to bring out scriptures to declare over my life. So I will pray these scriptures every single day on my drive to work. I used to work 30 minutes away from the house. So I wrote down these scriptures and I wrote down prayers attached to the scriptures about different things, also and about the fruit of the womb, different scriptures. And I'll pray them I will declare them every single day. There's something different about declaring the word of God over you. I wasn't just praying, God give me a baby, God give me a baby. I wasn't just praying that, but I was praying the scripture that had to do with fruitfulness and the fruit of the womb.
Yeah.
So I was declaring it every single day on my way to work and back. So definitely I'm so thankful for the season. I am so thankful, man. I'm so thankful because I saw God in a different light.
Yeah.
So I'm so thankful for that season.
Yeah. So, and basically, you know, let me just add to this that the midnight cries now turns to like midnight prayer.
Yes.
So those times I wake up at midnight, I'm like, I don't know why, when she's in the closet crying or something. Well, fast forward will be that I wake up and the groaning of our prayer wakes me up. Like literally. She's either in the bathroom or she's in the closet praying. And she's interceding. She's not only praying for the fruit of the womb, she's praying for people, she's praying for things, she's just interceding and having koinonia and fellowship. Well, let me not use, I mean, there are people that having fellowship with the Holy Spirit in those times. So, man, I wake up and my wife is because I will feel like the wretched cedar. I'm like, better stand up. I'll be like, so it did increase our prayer lives. I mean, that season we fasted, we fasted together. we would do
spend time in Bible study, studying the Bible,
and I mean,
bringing up,
just it was a great season,
and
like we said, that was the season that our ministry, the worshipers room, was birthed.
Yes,
actually, it was in that same season, and that was, and shortly after we started it, our best friends then, they're still some of our best friends now, in one of those worshipers room meetings, God gave him a word, and at the end of the service, at the end of the meeting, he gave us a word, a prophecy. And how many months after that?
Like a lot of, like, I don't know how many months.
Maybe maybe 6 or 8 months or something after that, or something. Boom.
And I didn't even know, actually. I didn't even know I was pregnant when I was pregnant.
Wow.
In all the prayer and sounding good and all of that, it got to a point where I was like, okay, God, I'm not praying again. Because I felt like I had prayed, I had cried, I had declared, I had decreed. And I was like, God, I'm tired. I'm not praying again. But one of the other days I went to the wall. I say that the wall is my war room. I go to the wall and I pray, just like Hezekiah. I say, God, remember me. I say, God, I'm tired of praying. I've prayed, I've cried, I've declared your word, I've done everything. God, I was driving to work and I'm screaming in the car, God, like real. I'm screaming. I'm saying, God, are you not hearing me? Because I had missed my period for 2 days. You get better. It had happened before. Now, God, this is another 2 days again, so I'm sure to come by the third day. So I cried. I was screaming. Oh my God. I'm sure God is like, this girl. It's just my car. So I'm screaming at God. I'm like, God, hear me. Hear me. And I'm sure he's like, girl, shut up. You're already pregnant. And
you were pregnant when this was happening?
I didn't know.
Wow. Okay.
I think 2 days, but it had happened before, and it came like on the third or fourth day. You get, so I was just, so by the third day, I didn't say it. By the fourth day, I didn't say it. I was like, yeah, it's going to come on the fifth day. Because, so by the fifth day, I didn't come. 6th day, I was like, what? I got 8 tests. And I saw the first one out, it was like positive. I was like, it can be. The other one, I was like, it can't be. No, I was like, okay, I'm going to get the digital one. I got another, I was like, it can't be. Even until when I even got to the hospital, I was like, I have to go and do it in the clinic to make sure it is. So I was like, oh my God, even in my time of screaming, just that season I was screaming at God. He was looking down at me and like, girl, it's already there. It's already there.
Wow. Wow, your story is so beautiful. I feel like you guys need to come back specifically for this story, because we sort of split today up, but this is so it's so beautiful. What I'm learning from what you guys have said is just the value in the waiting time, because now, like, you're saying all of these things that came out of it, but at that time you were not feeling all of this. You were like, Lord, answer. All you know is, Lord, answer my prayer, and see all that has come out of it. So guys, if you're waiting, whether it's for a baby or you're waiting to be married, it's also a waiting season, and a lot of good things can come out of it. Just learn from Nengi. Go to your closet. You can use your wall. I mean, it's an example. It's not like it's now I don't know, it's something that you have to do. Yeah. Exactly. You can use her example and say, God, you heard Nengi, hear me. Use her example. Just keep praying, because God, the way God birthed things in their lives, and I'm also taking this for myself, God can also birth things in my life through my season of waiting. So thank you guys. That's such a beautiful story. Let's go to a few more comments and then we're going to wrap up the show. So after I read the comments, Nengi and Jen, I'm going to come back to you to tell us your last words for those that are planning to be married. Mrs. Afunki said, midnight cries turn to midnight prayers. God is beautiful. You are ministering right now. Exactly. Samuel is saying, how will you encourage couples who struggle with mental issues in similar situations, time of waiting?
Man, yeah. See, it is hard for you not to suffer mental issues during that time of waiting. But you know what? You need to just constantly remind yourself of God's word. That's it.
Yeah.
Because in that season, I mean, like, you know,
Man.
it's a roller coaster. Listen,
my
it is a
gosh.
roller coaster.
Oh,
You need to just surround yourself with, you need to surround yourself with
yes.
family, people that will pour into you, because at that time you can't even, there's nothing, there's no content, there's nothing, you know, there's nothing really. So it's easy for mental, you know, for mental breakdowns and stuff like that, and just different thoughts. So you need to surround yourself with family, with good family, positive, like the world will use the word positive vibes, right? But we know what our own positive vibes is.
Yeah.
The word of God, the house of God, fellowshipping with brethren, with family, talking with people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You need to surround yourself with people.
If I might add, coming from a lady's point of view, definitely, I had my times of depression, like you said, mental issues, and it's like, God, would this ever happen? Like, how would this ever happen for me? You know, I'll have my times of my emotional breakdowns, and that's why you have to start right from the beginning. You have to, I'll say it like this: you have to marry iron. What do I mean by that? The Bible says iron sharpens iron. So if you marry iron, when one person is blunt one day, you know, was it dull? Or,
Dull or blunt,
yeah, you have the other person to sharpen you. You know, I have my days where I'm like, man, babes, man, I can't do this anymore. This is it's too much. It's weighing me down. You know, I can't take it. Just thinking about that time is really heavy on me. And he will come and say, hey, I got you. You're good. You know, he will hold me and he will pray with me. You know, that's why I tell people, get it right from the beginning. You know, get it right from the beginning. Marry somebody that can hold you when you're down, that can uphold you in prayer, that can encourage you, that won't just say, suck it up, or dismiss your feelings, or that will dismiss and say, hey, go pray about it. Because sometimes I'm like, I've prayed about it. I need you to help me. You know, I need to pray with me. I cannot pray anymore. I can't pray anymore. I need you to help me. So you need to make sure that you get it right from the beginning. Make sure that you marry someone that will encourage you, that can strengthen you, that will not look down on the way you on how you feel. You know, so marry iron, because in times like this, you need someone to hold you and sharpen you and strengthen you. So that's how I dealt with it, because I had my moments. So, but he was there. You know, he was there to hold my hand and pray for me when I couldn't pray. You get so.
Wow. So beautiful, guys. Just hearing your story, your relationship is just so beautiful. I just really bless God for what he's doing in your lives. And yes, like you said, Nengi, we have to be careful with who we're getting married to. Like, now, okay, you guys are talking about a waiting season for a child. We all have waiting seasons.
Yes.
It's one thing or the other with everybody. We all have challenging times. This you're staying, marry iron. I'm gonna hold on to that, you know.
That's the message.
Marry iron. Sorry?
I said that's a message right there. I need to write it.
Exactly, yeah. Marry iron. You really need to marry iron, because that's what will keep you. Okay, so rounding up with the comments and the final statement, Mrs. Afunki is saying, praise God. Samuel is saying, it's already there. Amen. I think this is when you were saying you were pregnant and you didn't know. And he's saying the value of the waiting time. Preach. Sadly, some women are not married to supportive men. It's important to keep praying, and also it's important to know that it's okay for Christians to seek help.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes. And that's why I said,
exactly.
so, you know, that's how I was saying, surround yourself with people, with solid people, you know, because at the time I could only be a support to her because I surrounded myself with solid people.
Yeah.
You know, I had a friend that would be, you know, like, there, we'll, you know, eat it off, we'll talk about stuff, we'll pray, we'll, you know, be together, talk, you know, we'll go to their house, we'll watch movies together. They're solid Christians. And, you know, so I was able to tap strength from there. Of course, I had mentors too, and my parents, you know, and our parents, you know, would always, I mean, we're PKs, right? So we had parents that will be there, you know, pray with us, talk to us. Our dad would call every single day. I mean, it's an amazing man of God.
Yeah.
My mom will send out messages every time, you know, so we will, you know, so we just, you know, you have to surround yourself with people. So I got strength from all those areas, and I'm able to supply strength, You know, so that's what it is.
And like Mrs. Lafunke said, if you don't have that supportive man, learn to reach out.
Reach out.
Don't be shy. Seek help. Reach out to somebody, somebody that you trust, that you can confide in, somebody that you know is will give you godly wisdom, or that will pray with you. Not somebody that will just talk down on you or make you even feel worse than before, or downplay what you're going through. So reach out. Don't be shy. Don't feel embarrassed. Reach out.
Yeah. Thank you. So our final comment before we come to you to give us your final advice is Mrs. Lafunki. She's saying, godly friends, speak to them. Let God lead you to the person for you to speak to when you need to speak to them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everyone viewing and those commenting. So John and Nengi, I'm going to come back to you now. John, do you want to give us your final words? What is one thing that single men need to know before they get married, if they missed everything?
Okay, know your purpose. And don't be a jerk. Come on.
Thanks, John. Nengi, what about women?
Single women or just women courting? Women courting or single women?
However you feel led.
What I would say is that make sure without a shadow of doubt that you are on the right track. Okay, make sure that the person that you're seeing that you want to marry, make sure that he is the person for you. Make sure that you have confirmations, not from yourself. Don't say, hey, I have confirmation from myself. Before you have your peace, because I've heard so many people say, hey, I believe that God told me that this was the man for me. But down the road, and it's like, hey, he was not the man for me. So make sure you have confirmation from different places, from your parents, from his parents, from friends that you can trust to pray with you. Make sure that without a shadow of doubt, that this is the person that God has said you will marry. And also have peace in your heart. Make sure it's peace. Make sure it's peace.
Lie a lot.
Yes,
people lie a lot. They will say,
it's peace.
it is God and everything. And then down the road,
blame God.
Something happened, and then you start blaming God, and then you ask them. Because there's a typical situation like that. One of our friends, right? And then she asks her later on, after they have talked at the beginning, and she said, and then she asked her, she was like, well, I saw something. Or you lied to me at the beginning. There's no how you won't know.
So make sure you have that peace, so that down the road, when things get shaky, you have what to hold on to and pray. I say, God, you told me that this man is my husband, or that this woman. So we're going to pray. So make sure that God, you have information from God, through different ways before you get married. Because I know that we're kind of on time, but I'll use this short example. Like my husband, we prayed, we had, things were not, we prayed and we had different confirmations. I was like, God, if this person is my husband, let this happen, or let my father say something, or let my mother say something. Or let me feel this way. I'll tell that story. I had even prayed and fasted about it because I didn't want to make a mistake. I wanted to enjoy my marriage. I didn't want to endure it because I know I was going to be in it for the long haul. I didn't want to just be enduring it as a Christian wife. I cannot divorce. I divorced, so I just enjoy. No, I wanted to enjoy my marriage. So I had to make sure that everything, like God was in this 100%. For my dad, I was like, okay, if this man is supposed to be my husband, give me a sign through my dad. I don't want him to just say, okay, I'm okay with it. I specifically asked for a sign. And my dad got in from school. He was doing his master's then. He got in and he just came on. I was reading. He just came and wrote on my book, and his name will be John. He didn't know his name was John. His name to them was Sheon. That's the name I even knew. His name.
Wow.
But my dad came in from school and he came and wrote on my book, and his name will be John. When I saw that,
Did he tell you why he wrote that?
Did
he tell you, like, where did that come from? How did
me?
Strange.
Till today, he doesn't even know.
Wow.
He doesn't know. So that's what happened with. After I got that, I was like, okay, all right, I guess. But even after that, we still made sure we fasted and prayed to make sure that we were on the right track. So,
yep.
Wow, thank you guys. Thank you so much. I think that what is really important is be honest with yourself. Because from what you're saying, because John did emphasize the truth, like real peace, you have to have real peace and tell the truth. And the first person to be truthful to is yourself. You need to be honest and ask yourself what's driving you. I mean, if your reason to be married is just so that, oh, you don't want to be single anymore, you don't want people to say this to you or say that to you, you're gonna marry wrong. I'm sorry, like, because you'll be in a haste.
Yeah.
But if what's driving you is correct, like what John said, purpose. If you're driven by purpose when you choose who to marry, then you're on the right track. I believe so anyway. Wow, John and Nengi, this has been such a beautiful
We've enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, and we also have like lots of nice comments that like, thanks guys, we've enjoyed listening to you both. Awesome session, guys. I'm sure if everybody that listened to this now or even the replay, they will be so blessed. And I'm so glad you guys came on. So thanks guys for watching today. This is Wise Attraction, and our goal here is to help you to marry well. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe now, and we'll see you same time next week, Thursday. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.